Hi, first graders. My name is Miss Lassiter, and welcome to Knowledge on the Go. Today we will be learning from Grade 1, Module 5, Lesson 3. In today's lesson, we will find and name shapes based on their defining attributes. Ask an adult to help you gather the materials you will need for today's lesson. You will need various three-dimensional shapes. Here's a picture of the three-dimensional shapes I will be using, but I've also listed some examples of objects you can use around the house as your three-dimensional shapes. You will also need the problem set from your student workbook. If you do not have a student workbook, that's okay. You can print the problem set from the Great Minds website, or you can use blank paper and a pencil. Pause the video now to gather the materials you will need, and when you're ready, come back and press play. Welcome back. In Lesson 1, we use straws to draw shapes and classify them based on their defining attributes of straight sides and corners. In Lesson 2, we named the shapes. In today's lesson, we will be talking about three-dimensional shapes like these. Pause and think. What do you know about three-dimensional shapes? Say it. Perhaps you said you know that three-dimensional shapes are not flat. Great thinking. At this time, I will transition to my document camera. Three-dimensional shapes also have faces, like this. And faces are a very important defining attribute. So we're going to talk about faces a lot throughout the lesson. Three-dimensional shapes also have different types of corners, and we call them points, like this. Three-dimensional shapes are around us every day. Do you have objects that look like the three-dimensional shapes on the screen? Perhaps you said, yes. Even if you do not have the objects in front of you, I want you to think about objects around the house or that maybe you've seen in a store that are three-dimensional. Look at this shape. Do you know of an object that looks like this? Perhaps you said, yes, a party hat or an ice cream cone. Do you know of an object that looks like this? Or maybe you have one in front of you? Perhaps you said, yes, maybe a can of vegetables or a soda pop. Let's look at this object here. Do you know of an object that looks like this? Perhaps you said, yes, maybe dice that you've used in school or a small tissue box. Let's look at one of these shapes a little bit closer. Do you know the name of this three-dimensional shape? Perhaps you said, yes, it is a cube. What are the attributes or characteristics of this shape? Did you say it has 6 faces and every face is a square face? Let's count the faces to see if that is correct. I want you to keep track of our count, starting with the face on the bottom. 1 on the top, 2, and now let's count around. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Absolutely. A cube is a three-dimensional shape that has 6 faces and every face is a square face. Do you have an object in front of you, or can you think of an object yourself that is a cube? If you have a cube in front of you, count the faces. Make sure that you have 6 faces and that every face is square. Great job. Let's look at another shape. This shape is called a rectangular prism, and it also has 6 faces. But let's check. Remember to track the count, starting at the bottom. 1, 2, let's go around the rectangular prism. 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. So a rectangular prism does have 6 faces. But let's look at this face that we can see. What shape is it? Did you say a rectangle? Great thinking. That's why we call this shape a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism is a 3-dimensional shape that has 6 rectangular faces. Do you have an object in front of you or know of an object that is a rectangular prism? Perhaps you said, yes, maybe you have a large tissue box or the box for your crayons or maybe even a pencil case. Those are examples of rectangular prisms. Let's look at another shape. This shape is called a cylinder. Look carefully. What are some of the defining attributes of a cylinder? Perhaps you said there are no straight sides, and you notice that this shape is round, so it can also roll. Great thinking. This shape also has faces. Look at this face. What is the shape of the face? Perhaps you said a circle or an oval. Great job. Let's count to see how many faces a cylinder has. Let's start from the bottom. 1, 2. A cylinder is a 3-dimensional shape that has 2 circle or oval faces, and those faces must be the same size. Do you have a cylinder in front of you? If not, can you say out loud an object that you know is also a cylinder? Thanks for sharing. Let's look at another shape. This 3-dimensional shape is called a cone. Pay close attention. What defining attributes do you notice? Perhaps you said you notice this shape has a point and a circle face as well. How many faces do you see? Did you say 1 face? Absolutely. This 3-dimensional shape only has 1 circle or oval face and 1 point. Do you have an object in front of you or know of an object that is also a cone? Perhaps you said, yes, an ice cream cone or maybe a party hat. Whenever I see this shape, I always think of an ice cream cone because I love ice cream. Let's look at one more 3-dimensional shape. This shape is called a sphere. Look carefully. What do you notice about this shape? Perhaps you said you notice it has no flat faces, so it can roll in any direction. Great thinking. A sphere is a three-dimensional shape with no flat faces. Look at the objects in front of you, or think about objects you have seen in the store or at school. Can you name an object that is a sphere? Perhaps you said, yes, a ball. A sphere looks like a ball indeed. Great job. Now, let's complete one problem together from your problem set. Let's look at page 1 together. The directions say, on the first 4 objects, color one of the flat faces red. Match each three-dimensional shape to its name. Let's look at A together. Do you see a flat face? Perhaps you said, yes, I see it as well. So let's color it red. Next, we need to match the object to its name. What is the name for the shape that we see in letter A? Did you say cone? Great job. So now let's match the shape to its name. Great work. Now I'm going to show you the problems I would like you to complete on your own. On page 1, I would like you to finish problem 1. And on page 2, I would like you to complete problems 2 and 3. Press pause, and when you're ready, come back and press play. Welcome back. Today, we learned the names and attributes of three-dimensional shapes. What are the names of the three-dimensional shapes we learned today? Let's name it one at a time together. The first shape is called a, cone. The second shape is a cube. The third shape is a, that's right, cylinder. The fourth shape is a, the fourth shape is a sphere. And the last shape? Great job, a rectangular prism. Think about our learning from lessons 1, 2, and 3. How do we classify, find, and name the shapes? Perhaps you said, we classified, found, and named shapes based on their defining attributes. Great work today. Again, my name is Ms. Lassiter, and thank you for joining me for Knowledge on the Go. Make sure you stick around for your application problem with Mr. Royke, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi there, first graders. Thank you for joining me for Grade 1, Module 5, Lesson 3. Before we get started, make sure you have all the materials that we'll need. You'll need the application problem from Module 5, Lesson 3 of your student workbook. If you don't have a student workbook at home, that's okay. You can always just use a blank sheet of paper and a pencil. Pause the video now to make sure that you have all the materials you'll need. Today you're going to be practicing the read, draw, write process to solve another really interesting problem involving shapes. Are you ready to go? Read today's problem aloud with me. Rose draws 6 triangles. Maria draws 7 triangles. How many more triangles does Maria have than rows. Pause the video now to practice the read, draw, write process. Remember to read the problem carefully in small chunks. Make your math drawing and make sure to label it with the information you see in the story. Try really hard to use a tape diagram, just like we've been practicing. Write a number sentence to help you solve the problem, and write a word sentence to help you answer the question. Press play when you're ready to continue. I'll be here waiting for you. Welcome back. Let's take a look at a sample solution. In this drawing, we can see two different tapes because we're comparing them. Rose's tape shows 6 triangles, and you can see the 6 triangles drawn inside the tape. Maria's triangles were 7, so there are 7 triangles drawn inside of Maria's tape. By looking at our tapes, we can clearly see that Maria has more triangles than Rose. Maria's tape is longer than Rose's. So this person circled how much more Maria has and put a question mark there to show that that's the missing piece. That's the part we don't know. This person decided that they could subtract Rose's 6 from Maria's 7 to get that missing part. 7 minus 6 equals the missing part, 1. So we can write our statement. Maria has 1 more triangle. How did you do in solving this problem? Thank you so much for sharing your thinking with me today. To practice recognizing your shapes, I suggest participating in the Shape Flash activity with Mrs. Coleman. You can find it in the Fluency Practice Library in the Grade 1 folder. I'm Mr. Royke, and I can't wait to see you back for another application problem.